Now, in a minute, we're going to be talking about cycling in the public realms and what is important in terms of going forward and reimagining our cities and our towns post-COVID. I want to give a special mention to Ian Galgi and to Ozzy and everybody involved in the wonderful fundraising that took place over the weekend. I'm going to give a mention to the Colligan folk in Kilgobnet as well later on in the programme. Firstly, we're going to do the draw now for the Friends of the Earth Skip Hire competition. It's a competition we've been running for the last few weeks on WLR, thanks to our Friends of the Earth Skip Hire company. We're going to give 5 lucky businesses free skip hire for whenever they start to reopen. There's been lots and lots of entries, and we've put all these entries into our bin here in front of us. Former hand sanitizer bin, an empty one, and I'm going to put it in. And the first one out is John Gear Carpentry in Dunhill. Well done. Second one, John Palmer Music Centre on Georgia Street. Well done. Fabulous John Palmer's. Third, K Sports on the Northern Extension Industrial Estate. Got 2 more. Tiptoes Community Childcare Centre on the Ultramore Road, it says here. Yeah, very good. And finally, Kelly Flooring in Ferrybank. Well done. So that's the 5 winners. They have all won free skip hire thanks to Friends of the Earth, 6 Cross Roads. It's, as you know, a family-run skip hire company recycling solid fuel for over 25 years. And thank you very much to Friends of the Earth for that, and continued success to you and your business and everybody there. So well done. John Gear Carpentry Dunhill, John Palmer Music Centre Georgia Street, K Sport Northern Extension Industrial Park, Tiptoes Community Childcare Centre Ultramore Road, and Kelly Flooring in Ferrybank. Want to give a special hello as well to a texter who's just phoned in. Huge congratulations to my son Daniel English and his partner Jessica Byrne on the birth of their baby girl Rachel Emily. Rachel is very special to us. Love from Dad, Kim and the kids. That's very nice. A caller phoned in to say he went to collect a pizza in the city over the weekend. There were 6 delivery men in there. Only one was wearing a mask. 2 or 3 were behind the counter. None were wearing masks. And 2 customers. It's only a small takeaway shop. He couldn't bring himself to eat the pizza. He was so concerned. He's 73. Said people should really want to cop on. They should also bring their rubbish home with them. A lot of people texting in on the WhatsApp 083 3333 975, particularly about rubbish bins. Rubbish bins along the Corpa Coast is now a big issue. Please put the bins back. I want to say a special hello to my own father up in Wicklow. He got a new phone and he now listens to WLR. He can get it on the app. Brian has texted in about the issue of cycling. I'll take that text in a second. Firstly, Finola Cronin is with the Waterford Cycling Campaign. They're calling on the Waterford City and County Council to facilitate safer conditions for cyclists. Now, the group is a voluntary group. It's a campaign that they feel is necessary given the number of people that are now out and about cycling. So I've been talking to Finola just before the programme started, Finola, and I got her views about why should our public spaces be reimagined and why should there be more cycle lanes and what would motorists have to say. Here's my chat with Finola Cronin. Finola, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Damien.
What a beautiful, beautiful day. We're sitting out here in the sun. You've got your cycling helmet here beside me. You've just cycled in.
That's it, and I've just cycled on the Dunmore Road. And do you know, Damien, for the first time in all my years cycling on the Dunmore Road, I saw 5 cyclists this morning. And not your regular power cyclists, people actually cycling about their daily business with their shopping bags and going thither and yonder. And it was great to see. And long may it endure.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's for a good number of reasons. A, it's a most beautiful morning. But I think B, and more importantly, there's a greater realisation now that it's possible to go around the place and do your business on a bike, running, jogging. It's possible to do things other than driving and our lives and our roads being dominated by cars. You know, and clearly with the pandemic, one obvious side effect, if you can call it that, is there's a partial reclaiming of road space by pedestrians, runners, joggers, and I suppose cyclists. And really that's why I'm here today. I'm a member of Waterford Bike Users Group, and our ambition and our aim really is to encourage safer cycling in Waterford and to promote and try to get the local authority to provide safer cycling routes, joined up thinking in that regard, and greater connectivity between various transport hubs to facilitate cycling.
What sort of a bike do you have yourself?
I have a regular bike to work scheme, nothing very glamorous and nothing very expensive, but it gets me from A to B.
Is the bike to work scheme still in operation?
It is, yeah, as far as I'm concerned it is, yeah, and it's still there for people. It's very simple, a very small amount is deducted from your wages every week. Employers are very amenable to it, yeah.
What about, firstly, safety for cyclists? Let's talk about cyclists first and the safety for them. Like driving around Waterford city or county, Dungarvan now has made some efforts in the last number of years, but in terms of cycle lanes, and it's very difficult to cycle around Waterford, is it? Or how would you describe it? Safely, like?
Safely, yeah. The problem with our cycle lanes in Waterford is there's no connectivity. There are standalone cycle lanes, so you're cycling along and suddenly the cycle lane stops. Another big problem, and I see this myself every day, would be cars parking on cycle lanes, especially around schools at drop-off and collection time. And I think the only way really you're going to get cycling to take off in a big way in Waterford is to get kids to cycle to school and to encourage that. But that is not going to happen if the behaviour of drivers, generally who are also parents, is such that discourages cycling for children and makes it unsafe.
And why is it? Is that ignorance, or is it lack of understanding? Is it arrogance? What would you describe it as?
Maybe it's a combination of all that, but I think primarily people just don't think. They think, I'm just going to put in here for a second, not realising that a cyclist is then forced out onto the road, especially at drop-off and collection times when the roads are pretty busy around school. So you're forcing a child, a pupil, onto the road in front of cars. So to facilitate your own selfish act for that few seconds, but a few seconds is enough to cause an accident.
What do you have to say, and I know people will be texting in this morning about this, that there are some selfish cyclists as well?
Absolutely, but fundamentally, Damien, if there's a collision between a cyclist and a motorist, it doesn't matter who's in the wrong or who's in the right. The cyclist would always come off worse. The motorist might have a dent in the bonnet or in the side of the car, but the cyclist could have catastrophic injuries. And clearly cyclists who cycle through red lights, who cycle on footpaths, who cycle in an inappropriate manner, they damage the reputation of all cyclists, but fundamentally they put their own health and lives at risk.
They can also be potentially responsible for accidents. They may force cars or other vehicles to take evasive action, which may lead to an accident, may not lead them being injured. So cyclists have to be aware of it. Do you think there's a good awareness of cyclists of all road matters?
I think there is by responsible cyclists, yes, and I think that's the key to it. But all road users have a stake in this. Pedestrians have a stake in it, like we've clearly seen now. Pedestrians, joggers will frequently move out onto the road to facilitate social distancing. And they'll move on to cycle lanes to facilitate social distancing. And there has to be a sharing of the road space. And I suppose everyone has got to be responsible for their own manner of cycling, walking, driving, because it's a shared space.
What do you think needs to be done? How much money needs to be spent? Like we're talking about now the regeneration of towns and cities post-COVID and maybe reimagining the public space and the public realms. Are you seeing this as part of a plan?
I think it is. And I think, obviously money's going to be tight from now on, and we're hearing all
to
about...
say the least.
Absolutely. But the beauty, I suppose, of enhancing the facilities for cyclists, cycle lanes, places to lock your bike, they're actually very cheap. It doesn't cost money really to put in a cycle lane. I think what's important about cycle lanes is that motorists see them as cycle lanes, not just white lines on the road with a picture, an emblem of a bike, because that really isn't terribly visible. But the actual cost of provision of safe cycling facilities in Waterford will not be very high, because the infrastructure is not going to be expensive.
Hold on a second. We're talking about a Viking city, a city that was built with narrow streets. Even the Dunmore Road, for example, there's not even enough room to put a proper cycle lane all the way through there. You talk about the Williamstown Road, there would be room there. I think it's scandalous that there isn't a proper cycle lane there. So there would be a lot of cost involved.
No, to put in a cycle lane, like there'd be consultation clearly with engineers, city planners. But some routes, and it's true as what you say, some routes are pinch points. For example, the inner Dunmore Road is a pinch point. And perhaps consideration could be given to making some roads like that one way. And that would facilitate cyclists and motorists. Now, I drive myself, Damien, so I have an insight from both sides of it, but that would be a consideration that clearly people who live on those roads, residents, they would need to have a stake in it too. But maybe it's worth trying.
Ultimately, you mentioned earlier on about getting children onto bicycles. There's this carrot and stick approach. For example, if you don't have cycle lanes and safe cycling areas, you may not get children onto the bicycles. But if you don't have more cyclists out, including children, you're not going to get cycle lanes being built. The demand, the council will say, is not there. So how do we marry this?
Well, I think obviously, climate change is going to inform part of this too. And the City Council does have a policy, a long-standing policy of promoting more cycling. And I think the Transport Authority of Ireland also have committed funding for surveys and for imposition of infrastructure for safe cycling. But the big thing about cycling is that there needs to be an acknowledgement of a shared space. So to make cycling safe for children, there has to be a momentum gathered. So you'll reach, I suppose, a critical point whereby fewer and fewer children will be dropped off at school and more children will actually cycle to school. And for the very first time last weekend, I actually saw a family cycling on the Dunmore Road. I think, again, because of the pandemic, but that's something that we can build on, and I think that we should build on. Cyclists, we don't damage the road surface. I've noticed myself that the road surface in Johns Hill is appalling, presumably because of heavy type vehicles going up and down the hill. Cyclists, we don't add to noise pollution, we don't add to air pollution. So, we're good guys, if I put it like that. We're very environmentally friendly.
But you don't put very much money into the government coffers in terms of tax on fuel and things like that. That's another reason the government may not want to get more people out of their cars.
No, but if the government is going to have to pay fines because we're not achieving our climate change goals and our emission criteria, well then we certainly don't add to that, and in fact our advocacy would be to reduce that so that we become a more environmentally friendly society. But also people's well-being, their mental well-being, their physical well-being. There are no downsides to cycling. It's all good. I know sometimes it rains, but not that much. It's exaggerated, the amount of rain we get. And it isn't a reason for people not to use cycling in general as a form of transport.
What is the current official position within the council? Have they got any plans whatsoever to build any more cycle lanes? Is there an integrated transport policy in Waterford? OK, well,
clearly I'm not here to talk on behalf of the council, and I suppose maybe that's a question best directed to the council. But I am aware that there's an attempt to link planning applications and planning approvals with cycling, and to try to facilitate both a radial cycle route around the town with ways then into the town itself. And there are proposals, as I understand it, to look at large areas, perhaps with the industrial estate, places like that where groups of people will travel to and from in large numbers, and look at those routes to see about cycling lanes being installed there.
I'll let you get back on your bike. Happy cycling.
Thank you very much, Damien, and thanks for the opportunity to I suppose, to represent the views and the aspirations of Waterford Bike Users Group. And if any...
How many in the group, by the way?
There's 10 of us. We started up before the pandemic, obviously, some time ago, some years ago. And we would hope that now that there's a greater appreciation of shared road space, that other people might join us, because we're there effectively to advocate for better facilities for cycling around Waterford as a viable way of transport.
Now, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to Jason Keane about drones. Do you remember last week a few people were texting in about drones, and we said we'd follow it up? So true to our word, Jason is going to give us the highs and lows of how and when you can use a drone. Margaret has texted in to say, what about hand sanitisers, and you touch them all the time? Does this not cause a problem? Should there not be automatic release ones that you don't have to touch? I think there's a company in Waterford that's making them. I just wonder, could they be utilised more? Now, a lot of people texting in about cycling already. A text to our WhatsApp number 083 3333 975. Damien, did that lady just suggest that the Dunmore Road could be a one-way system to accommodate cyclists? I don't believe it. TJ says, call for more cycle lanes. There's already plenty of them. They used to be called footpaths. Good morning. Safer cycling, more cycle lanes. Seriously, I walk to work along the inner ring road. There are dedicated cycle lanes, which some cyclists refuse to use. It's beyond time that bikes should carry ID plates on them so that they can be reported. What about a collision between a cyclist and pedestrian? Who's going to pay for that? Brian said on the subject of cycling, there are 3 elderly cyclists on St John's Greenway last Thursday. They were giving out about the very dangerous junction between Tesco Pulbury and the cinema at Miller's Marsh. There was no signage for motorists, and there are cyclists crossing or provisions. You have to come off the curb. The cars are flying there. Good morning, says Joe Kelly. I propose the council management at Lombard Street Park Road be made one way as part of a wider one-way system. It will allow for more cycling, pedestrian space and better traffic flow once a fully integrated system is employed. A lot of our streets are too narrow for cycle lanes with two-way traffic. That is one of the main issues. Jason, how's it going?
Morning, Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Beautiful day again today, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's running up into the 20s there now at the minute.
It is, yeah. We're at 23, 24 degrees at the minute. You're with Sky Photography, is it? Or what's the name of the company?
DJ Sky Photography.
DJ Sky Photography. And you were listening last week, and thanks very much for getting in touch with us, because a number of people had texted in, particularly people in Tramore, and they're lying out their back, sunning themselves, and the next thing, this little sound of a drone comes overhead, and 20 foot up in the air, there's a drone hovering above their garden, and they're worried. Are the people who are operating the drone, who obviously you can't see, are they recording what they're seeing down below? We'll talk about the different rules and regulations regarding that, but let's talk about this specific incident first. If you're sunning yourself out the back in a garden in Tramore, let's say Waterford City, let's focus on Tramore for the minute. Is that allowed? Is that allowed to use a drone like that?
It is within certain parameters. You can be no more than 50 feet off the ground within controlled airspace. Tramore, for instance, Waterford Airport has the biggest controlled airspace in Ireland. It's nearly up to 10 kilometres. As regards flying over people's gardens, you can pass it over. There's no, even under GDP, because I've done a 2-day course, and the two guys are actually, one flies the Learjet for the government, and the other chap flies for the Irish Air Force, the Irish Air Corps. And when we done the GDP, you can fly over gardens, stuff like that, as long as you're not hovering over the garden. And the same as if we are doing footage for somebody, we can give them the option to, we have a form done that you can take the SD card and that everything's on it. Now, as far as I'm aware, I only spoke to somebody yesterday. I won't reveal who it was, that there's actual changes coming, that you will have to be compliant even more. Now, the councils, I think, are putting this into place as regards privacy. Now, from what I'm aware, there is no privacy as regards footage. You can film, as you see, a lot of people putting up videos from their phones from every kind of incident on the ground. And I think it applies the same to the air. But I think with drones, it is changing a little bit. I haven't heard myself now. I have to, because I'm registered with the Irish Aviation Authority.
Yeah.
I have to be aware of what's changing. Now, nothing has come across. Now, I have an email that will come down from the company I done my licence with. They will send us any changes and any updates that's coming as regards commercial drone pilots. Okay,
just 1 second. Sorry, Jason. Yeah, just make sure you're in a good signal area there. The signal is dropping out a little bit. Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, the problem we have, you were going to say, is that there's been so much, I suppose, fluctuations in the guidelines and rules and regulations with this, and you've got amateur drone users, and you've got professionals like yourself, and like, for example, here in WLR, we would have a designated person who would have a licence. In RTE, when I worked there, people would have designated licence. So a lot of people don't know the difference between these things, don't they not?
No, they don't. And you see, it doesn't matter how big your drone is, you're still bound under visual flight rules, VFR. you have to be able to see the drone. You cannot fly without 300 metres, or depending on your eyesight. You have to be able to see the drone. Now, I've seen pictures in the last couple of months going up on the internet, and these chaps are definitely at 1,000 feet, if not more, which is highly illegal.
It is, isn't it?
But how do they police it?
Yeah, I'm reading you. You're reading my mind, because that was my next question. Like, have the guards arrested anybody in Waterford? Do we know?
No. You see, look, the guards, they have enough. Look, they have enough on their hands with everything that's going on, plus all different kind of laws. How do they police it? You know what I mean? It's a very difficult thing to police.
It is, but... And there's been anecdotal evidence about this, particularly last summer. I remember talking to a number of people in rural areas where criminals potentially could be staking out a house by using a drone.
See, the thing you have with the drone, as regards the criminal element, it's only last year that a Zoom drone came on the market. Most of the drones, including mine, you'd need software to be able to zoom in and actually identify. You'd actually have to be 10 feet off the ground to find any evidence of anything being of value. You know, you'd have to be very close to the ground for criminals to be used.
Yeah.
I have heard of drugs and stuff being dropped over walls and such like that, maybe at Mountjoy over the past couple of years. But as regards using them for criminal activity, it's very difficult.
Very difficult, I understand, yeah. But if you were in a rural house, if a rural house, let's say a drone, let's say the house is in off the road and the criminal wanted to check if the car was there or if there was somebody there, they could fly a drone. Potentially, they wouldn't have to be that close without zooming in.
Yeah, there is that possibility. But you see, the thing you have with a drone, even though they're at between 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz, they still need line of sight for video. You can lose signals from them.
That's very true.
If you imagine, you're going to have a direct line of sight to the drone for a signal. You know, they do fly up to a great distance as long as there's nothing in between them.
Yeah.
So I find it like maybe the odd element. I don't think this is massive a problem. I don't think. Now, I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. But from what I've learned flying drones, and I'm flying model aircraft for 12 years, it still has to be line of sight for the signal to be accurate.
It does.
Mostly what you'll get is the video feed dropping off before the signal of the drone.
Now, in terms of somebody, let's say a mammy or a daddy or a guardian wants to buy a drone for their children, or a 15-year-old says, I'd love to get a drone. So they go and they spend 150, 200 euros, they buy a drone. And this young lad is out the back and he's flying the drone around and they think it's grand, it's no big deal. And then when they go away, he says, right, I'm going to go spying on somebody. And he literally hovers it. Like you mentioned earlier in your first comment, it's not illegal as long as it's not hovering. But like that difference between just flying over somebody's back garden and hovering, it's a very, very tenuous sort of line, isn't it?
It is, you know, and I wouldn't be 100% accurate about the hovering and the flying over. But what I'm trying to say is that I do know that videoing, unless you're up against somebody's window, videoing in the window, it's not invasion of privacy, as far as I'm aware. Now, don't quote me. That's all I can tell you. But the thing about it is, if you buy a 15 to 20 euro drone, it's not going to have the recording facilities and the clarity of camera as some of the drones. Like, you're talking minimum 600 euros to have something with quality footage that can store that kind of footage, you know?
But let's say...
There's not stuff on them.
Yeah. Let's say you're lying out your back garden and you're annoyed and you're peeved off because there's a drone 20 feet overhead. I wonder what would happen if you threw up a football or a stick and and literally broke the drone. I wonder, would you be liable for that?
No. Can't condone it, but you won't be liable.
Right.
You see, for me to do any work, I have to have a liability insurance. So my drones are covered. So if I'm doing work to be commercially trained, to actually get paid for drone work, you have to be commercially trained to get paid for it. So your drone is insured. Now, if you knock a drone out of the air, well, what was it doing there?
Yeah,
it's you know something. It's just unfortunate there's no clarity within the law of that kind of stuff. And if they do put clarity in, how do they police it? I do know from my drone and most professional drones, they have software built into the app that they'll record everything the drone does from the time it takes off. It'll actually record from where it took off from, its flight path, its return journey, if it stopped at any waypoint on the way out or the way back in, it'll record all of that and it's stored in the app. So if there's any dispute about anything, you can show the guy, well, look, there, I wasn't encroaching on anything there. There's my height, my speed. It shows everything.
Yeah. And how much would a drone, how much would your type of drone, or a drone for professional use, what sort of price are we talking about, Jason?
Well, you're talking, my one was five grand. So from there up to the sky's the limit.
Hey.
Professional ones. But you can start off at a minimum between €400 and €600 now.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and the cost of them are coming down as well, and the quality is improving, and it's going to be a major thing over the next few years, Jason, isn't it? It's going to be a major talking point.
It will be. I think the easiest way to solve this is be able to, if people report the pictures, because look, it's like me saying I'm going down the road in an M3. Like people say, oh, it's only 1 kg. These are electronic devices that can take off on their own of their own mind if they get a flaw. Now, I do know DJI are incorporating stuff that if you're not up to date or you're within what they call a controlled airspace, so if I was within 200 metres of the airport, there's a thing called geofencing where the aircraft won't activate the motors. But you can still sometimes get software to bypass all of that. But the thing is, if they're up, like, I understand it's great to see pictures of everything, and I'm not trying to stop anybody doing their hobby that they want, but if one of these takes off, it keeps going till the battery's flat. It may not return to home. And it's like me saying, oh, if I go down the road in an M3 at 100 mile an hour and the chap's doing 100 mile an hour in a Skoda, oh, well, my M3 is better. It's not the point. Something can go wrong. And that's the thing about it. There's very little redundancies for a drone with 4 propellers. The more propellers, a little bit more redundancies, but I think if they do implement laws, who are they going to get to police them?
Police it. That's the big thing.
I think
it's
I think it's going to have to be the end users, and anybody who puts up the photographs are going to have to be, it's easier to watch them online. Whoever's posting their photograph.
Jason, thanks so much for the information. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Oh, just the thing you mentioned as I was listening in there about the cycle lanes.
Yes.
I had an incident probably about 18 months ago coming out, and I don't know, a lot of people know Colligan Church. Coming out of Colligan Church towards the new school, there is a cycle lane on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I do actually.
And a guy with a timber lorry, I spotted the cyclist in front of him, and I made the assumption that the cyclist would go to the cycle path. He didn't. There's a pedestrian island. Next thing, he came out at the truck wheels behind the lorry. I was like, oh, I got a fright. I stopped. He cycled around the truck, stopped in front of the lorry. So I got out, went around to the front, and of course he was arguing with the truck driver, and I said, chap, what you done was lethal. It was dangerous for yourself. I subsequently went and asked a guard what was the point of the cycle lanes. He said, look, they're not obliged to use the cycle lanes. They're not obliged to use them.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. Jason, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
No problem. Perfect. Thanks a million.
Take it easy. Really appreciate it. Jason Keane there of DJ Sky Photography. Jason, talk to you soon. Mind yourself and take it easy. This has got some people irate. We've got a text in. Paul Dower has texted in. I know Paul has and used a drone. With all photography, you have to use common sense. Drones are not toys, and they're not allowed within 30 metres of people. Whereas Tina in Slieve Rue has texted in to say, I was in my garden 2 weeks ago in a rural area, and a drone was right over my garden. I was livid. Another person saying, I was sitting in my garden last night reading. Around 11 o'clock, a drone passed over my head. It stopped and hovered for at least 5 minutes. At around 5 to 12, it came back again. It did exactly the same thing. I found it very, very intimidating, and I wouldn't look up for ages. I didn't want to give whoever was operating it the satisfaction. There was a green light flashing on it, and it hovered, so I assumed it was taking pictures. If I had a rock in my hand and a good aim, I would have had a go with that. What do you think? Let us know. 083 333 975. Kieran has said, good morning, Damien. Huge drone with camera attached hovering over houses in Faha in Kilmacthomas for prolonged periods throughout April and May. Gardaí say it's a matter for the Aviation Authority. And wait for this. The Aviation Authority say it's a matter for the Gardaí. Hi. Now, keep your texts and comments coming in. Good morning. I found a ladies' watch in Newtown Cove Friday week. I posted on the Tramore Community Facebook page. Nobody's claimed it. I wonder if you could give it a mention, please. Good morning, Damien. I know the interview with Finola was pre-recorded. Well done to her. My pet hate is parents who stop their cars in the line of traffic to proceed to get their kids out of school gates and then stop the flow of traffic. They're too ignorant to pull into the parking spaces. Good morning. It's heartwarming to see the amount of people out on their bikes. After living in the Netherlands for 18 years, I really see the benefits of your bike at so many levels. A good infrastructure for cyclists would enhance life for many. What would be wonderful would be a bike path along the river and the quay. Regarding drones, we had a drone over Collins Avenue recently. We found it very intrusive over the back garden. A caller into 051846123. Mary says she was in Bonman yesterday, late. A man came off the beach with a big bag of rubbish and just left it beside the bin. Also, there were 2 drones flying over and back across the beach. You don't know if they were zooming in on you, and we were down there with our children. Sean has texted us from Cheek Point to say it's only a matter of time because someone else is lost or injured on the river or down around the coast here. And we heard about that horrendous tragedy in Mayo, and our hearts go out to the people up there. Could you please wish a special hello to Willie O'Callaghan and best wishes to him. He's a patient at University Hospital Waterford at the minute. Looking forward to having you home soon. Love from Angela, your sons Michael, Brendan, Alan, Niall and daughter Bernie. And here to that. I know Willie for a good few years, and many people would concur with that. Willie, get well soon. Now, Colligan GAA and Kilgobna GAA, they did some marvellous fundraising over the weekend, and our own Gavin Whelan, who has been working with them, they raised €5,055 for Waterford Samaritans, a joint charity fundraiser, received brilliant support from the whole community. Big thanks to everyone who supported, from everybody in both clubs. Just by chance, we went to Colligan there in the last few days to talk to certain people within the club about the importance of the GAA club to the community. And Paddy Ryan was there on the JCB doing a little bit of work because they're building, hopefully, a walking track around the Colligan GAA pitch. I spoke to Paddy, I spoke to Gavin Whelan, and you'll also hear a bit with the wonderful Dan Booth. Here's Paddy Ryan, Colligan GAA. Paddy, how's it going?
Good.
You're here in the JCB. We'll stop it for a minute. I'll climb into the JCB, but I'm standing 2 metres away from you. What are you doing here now today? Doing a bit of work?
Doing a bit of work for the Colligan GAA pitch. Getting rid of all the trees, and they're planning to put a walkway around the pitch. Probably a development that could take maybe 2 to 3 years.
I noticed the same thing up in Slieve Gua. They did the same thing. It just shows how the GAA pitch becomes more than just a pitch.
Yeah, I suppose it's needed as a community now more than ever, especially with the pubs and the churches closed. We need the GAA pitches to open up as soon as possible, and it's about the only thing that's left we can enjoy. Like,
what's your thoughts on the whole situation
in
terms of sports and the summer and all that?
Oh, sure, the sports are a big loss to everybody, and a big loss to the players like Dan Booth and Johnny Wall and Mark Flynn and all those lads that train here in Colligan, PJ Coffey. It is a huge loss. And hopefully it'll be back by the end of the year, and they should leave whatever's to be had out of the GAA for the clubs and forget about the inter-county. That'd be my thoughts on it.
This pitch and this facility would be used, maybe even 5 nights a week in the summer?
It would be, and over the years the Waterford team have come to train here several times, and they love coming up to train here. And
there's a certain kit man not too far away.
Exactly, Roger, and we have some great men in the club, like you've Michael Wall, who got a great award there in Crow Park there. You might have seen it. Great club man. Have done a lot of work over the years for the club, as a lot of other people have too.
Colligan is such a sparse community in the sense of there's so many houses around. It covers an awful lot of area. How does the pitch and the club become a focal point, particularly in the summer?
Well, sure. In a parish like Colligan, there's nothing else. We'll say there's no building structures as such. There's no community centre. The field is the hub, like for the Colligan area. Like, the only other building we have here is the church.
How do you think it'd be possible to open up the pitch? I know people have been very good not using it. Would it be possible to open it up a little bit sooner than what the government's saying, or what do you think?
I think it would be, yes. It definitely would, yeah.
And how would you police it or control it, or what would be the best way of doing it?
Well, in a big area like this, you'd have no problem. Like, people are into social distancing now anyway, so they understand the whole thing, like. So I couldn't see any problem with it. How
does it make you feel that it's not being used at the minute? I know it gives you a bit of time to do work like this.
Yeah, sure. Like, I'm sure, like everyone throughout the country, we all miss it, and we miss the games. We miss them on television as well as inside in our own club fields. Like, so it is a huge loss. Like,
you're missing it a lot.
Missing it a lot, yeah.
Would you be up here much now? As you're on the...
I'd come up to watch the lads training. I would, yeah, and watch matches, and anywhere Colligan are playing, we go to see him.
How's Roger getting on?
I don't know if you're Roger. You just missed him. He'll be back again soon now.
Paddy, thanks very much. Gavin Whelan, we normally talk to you as a sports reporter. You're a Colligan member, are you?
Yeah, Colligan GA member, Damien proudly a player and on the committee as well, so I suppose it's unusual. I suppose usually we'd be in the ticket run and championship season, but look, this year is different. But look, please God, when it comes around again, be it later this year or next year, I suppose we'll appreciate it even more. And
we're going around to different clubs and we're talking to people and how much the GA means. Like in a place like Colligan, Paddy was just saying, apart from the church, there's not much more in Colligan.
No, very little, Damien. I suppose the church in Colligan Woods and maybe the field, that's what we'd be known for. As you can see yourself, it's kind of a nice rural area, very beautiful, scenic setting and all that. So I suppose the hub of any rural community, like ourselves, is the GA club and the church and that. So it's a pity now that we're not meeting, I suppose, to train, and we got as far as the middle of March, and then the whole pandemic, I think, started. So it's been frustrating, but lads, I suppose we still have the woods and that you can do your plenty of running around there, and we're lucky to live in such a scenic area as well. So we just have to play it by ear, I suppose, and when it comes around again, we'll appreciate it more, I suppose.
And people have been very good. They've been obeying the guidelines, and you're looking at building, I see a development here, talking to Paddy about it, a little track around the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. A walkway, I think, now is what a lot of clubs have incorporated in, just to kind of, I suppose, give something back to the community as well. And I know the lads are working hard. The trees from behind both goals, as you can see, have been taken down as well, and all by local contract, like Paddy Ryan, local man as well. So we've fantastic local contractors here and business people who can help the club out as well. So fantastic facilities here. I think next year will be the 20th year of the official opening, which happened back in 2001. Waterford played Offaly in a challenge back that day, so it's hard to believe that. That's a long while ago now. I was very young then, Damien, but so please God, we'll have further matches and further training sessions when things do recommence. But look, we're trying to keep positive. I know it's a difficult time for everyone, but look, we've been doing well here in Waterford, and everyone is looking out for each other. The Pike service station are very good with, we're all helping out the committee with local deliveries and stuff to, be it shopping or pharmaceuticals or whatever like that. So everyone is buying in, and we're getting through it.
And Roger Casey's nowhere to be seen.
No, I thought
I just missed him.
I thought today was maybe a day you might maybe nab him. I was saying it to Kevin, his son, earlier. It was our club secretary, very efficient there, and Jerry Quillen and a few of them now, I know, caught working today elsewhere. And contractors and farmers, Damien, journalists, sometimes they're hard to get. You know what I mean, for interviews or for training. But Roger is brilliant, and I know his inter-county term is cut short at the minute. But sure, look, please God, who knows? We might see it in October. I'm no doubt he'll be back at it next year anyway. But look, great community ethos here, and sure, look, we'll be, when it does resume, we'll look forward to it.
Gavin, thanks very much.
Thanks, Damien. Cheers.
Daniel Booth, good afternoon. Dan Booth.
Well, how you doing?
I'm not so bad. You're doing a bit of running on the roads there just a while ago. You're trying to keep fit. Tell me a little bit remind people, you're an former inter-county, and you're getting back onto it maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, I was just doing a bit there. I have a programme from Kenny Murphy, so yeah, I was just doing a bit there.
How do club players, sprints, how do club players try to keep fit? Like, what have you tried to do now to try and keep some level of fitness going? How old are you, by the way?
21, and I don't know, just by running and stuff, and we have a few weights at home. I'm doing a bit of that as well, so yeah, just trying any way you can, really.
It's hard going.
Yeah, it's alright, like, I don't mind it too much.
You don't mind it? Like, what about motivation and consistency and doing it on a consistent basis?
Yeah, just thinking, like, hopefully it'll come back this year, so just thinking about that, and just have to be your motivation then, like, so.
How many days a week would you do a bit?
6 days a week maybe.
Wow. Fair play to you.
Program, yeah, so sure, it's grand.
Yeah.
My brother as well, he'd be doing a bit with me as well, so there's a few of us doing as well, like that, helping with the motivation stuff.
Now, and that was Dan Booth, and thanks very much to everybody in Colligan, and a special hello to Roger. I didn't get to meet you on the day, Roger. Hope you're keeping well, and thanks to Gavin Whelan and to Paddy and everybody involved in the clubs there in Kilgobnet. It's wonderful going around to the different clubs and to see how important GA is, and sporting clubs of all different ilk, to communities. We were up in Ballymacarbery, the Nire, 4 Mile Water. We did a little piece with Turanina, Slieve Gua and Colligan, and we're going to continue that as the time goes on. Good morning. Can I just let you know that there is a man and a woman going around in a red car and is wondering if it's a scam regarding different petrol stations. Just to be very, very careful, says this person. I'm not going to give out any more details of this particular car because we don't want to frighten people. Now, another person said regarding sunshine, I'm in our 60s. My friend and I are in our early 60s. We've never learned to cycle. We'd love to learn. Are there any classes for old beginners or any suggestions? We live in the west of the county. Many thanks. We listen all the time to the show. Thank you for bringing sunshine every day into our lives. So anybody down the rest of the county that's doing bicycle lessons and classes, let us know, please, and we'll put you in touch with that person. Now, as you know, as part of our WLR Sporting Heroes extravaganza, we have picked 25 of the top sporting heroes in Waterford City, County and beyond over the many, many years. And one of them that we're featuring today is the great Alfie Hale. Good morning, Alfie.
Morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good. How are you keeping yourself?
Actually, I'm very, very good, but you're all this sad news, Brendan Wire and all the guys, it's no different. So I don't want to go on about it. Just keep it happy if you want to. But no, it's doing my best for my age and trying to keep a very positive outlook.
Yeah, and when you're right. When you hear people of your own age and own sort of era dying, it makes you think, and it makes you appreciate as well. Because I know you're essentially a very happy person, Alfie. It makes you appreciate every day you have with your loved ones, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. There's no doubt about it. And you know, I've said it for years. I've been very lucky, and I really have all my life. My mother once told me, 5 years of age, this the lucky boy in the family of 9 of us, and 11 of my father. And I have been. You know, there's been challenges along the way, but I have been. So I'm very, very grateful.
And you made your own look as well by working hard at the different things that you've done, not only in business but in sport. How do you feel to be nominated as one of the 25 for Waterford's great sporting heroes in conjunction with Flahavans?
Well, I'm very surprised because I hadn't thought about it. And to be honest with you, I came from a place called Ardnagrana, the height of the sun, and surrounded by Roanmore, Griffiths Place, Morrison's Avenue. And to get into the top 25 in sporting heroes would be all that I would ever ask for, to be among them, because there was brilliant hurlers, brilliant squash players, number 1 in Ireland, Richie Power, and all the great hurlers of the 50s and 60s, Larry Guinan, next door neighbour of mine, Mick Flann, Philly Grimes, fantastic. And then you have the young breed today of hurlers. And, you know, it's surrounded with golfing greats and sport. Waterford have always surpassed them, as they have in the arts. And I hope what you're doing now is followed on by somebody in the arts, because you've somebody like Pat McAvoy who do a fantastic job in whatever you do. Sorry, I'm off the track with you anyway.
No, you're right. I know you've hit the nail on the head, because there's so many different facets, whether it's a cultural thing. We've heard about the Brendan Boyer thing and the idea of putting up statues. We've got our sporting heroes, as you say, so many different people, from athletics with John Tracy and cycling with Sean Kelly's and all the others, and all the hurlers and footballers and Paddy Code. And we had a great discussion last Friday about this with our 4 judges. So you're in that esteemed panel, and this is a thing we're doing with Flahavans, and people can vote online. They can text in the word hero as well, and the name of who they want to vote for. So there's it's a great idea. Just it gets a great debate going, because you know yourself, Alfie, discussing who is the best player of all time, and nobody ever is 100% right, huh?
No. And if I had a vote myself, and I think it's well recorded as to what I felt about Paddy Code and what an idol he was and what a legend he was, and of all the people that I played with in those Waterford League championships. But to me, there was a man, Jack Fitzgerald, who was very highly regarded by me and by the players that he played with. In 1953, when the Busby Babes were coming alive, he was invited to join Manchester United. He turned it down, to stay at home, and he turned down Sunderland, who were known as the Bank of England at the same time, to stay at home. And he was engaged to young Annette Fitzgerald. Well, Annette he married. But Jack was, if I can put it into a couple of minutes, he played for Waterford for 18 years, from 18 years of age to 36. He worked in snow cream. He got up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do his rounds, Saturdays, Sundays. Sunday morning he'd finish at 8 o'clock. He'd jump on a bus with Waterford to play Shamrock Rovers in Dublin or Drumcondra. Put in his full 90 minutes, better than anybody else could expect from him. Come home, be home for 10:30, 11 o'clock on the bus. Get back a couple of hours sleep, back into the wagon for the snow cream, and did that for 7 days a week. And turned out for Waterford, sparkling displays, played for Ireland at the same time. Give everything.
Phenomenal, yeah.
And sadly, at the end of his days, at 36 years of age, he got a letter in the post when he was out, and saying that his services were no longer required by Waterford Football Club. And I thought it was very sad, and years afterwards, we were all awarded some Waterford Crystal at the mayor of Waterford at the time. But tell you quickly that. And Jack was there, and Jack was uncompromising as ever. And the mayor said, "I'm delighted and to award you this, Jack, because you've been a great hero of ours in Waterford." And Jack said, "Well, it's not before time." And
Alfie,
I thought it was lovely. But,
listen,
one of 7 brothers. Fantastic.
Phenomenal, yeah. Listen, I'm going to have to leave it there. Alfie, congratulations on making the list, and the very best of luck to you and your family, okay?
Thank you, Damien. Thank you.
Great to talk to you again. Alfie Hale there, one of Waterford's greatest sporting heroes. So you can vote, go online, you can text the word hero and your nominee 083 3333 975. Sorry if I didn't get to the rest of your text today. Well done, Julie, on producing another marvellous show. Have a great day, folks. Stay safe, put on your sun cream. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Jeff is up next.